What should the Mavericks do at starting center going into next year? And if you were GM, what would you do with the Mavericks this offseason? We'll discuss all that and more coming up next on the DLLS Mavs podcast. DLLS Mavs Nation, it's your man Kevin Gray alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Corella. We, of course, are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team. Mark Stein,
We're back
every single day. Appreciate you joining us here on this fantastic Friday afternoon on DLLS Sports. If you were GM of the Dallas Mavericks this offseason, how would you handle free agency? Plus, what should the Mavericks do at center at this beginning of this upcoming season? We'll get into all that more, plus some NBA Conference Final talk a little bit later on in the program as well. Tim Cato, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling great. The first thing I would do is bring back Mavrello.
Shout out to my guy.
Like, if you are an animatronic basketball, of course you've got handles.
Yeah.
You are a handle. You think that guy can't set up an offense?
He is the system.
He is the system.
He is the offense.
Shout out to my guy Matt Galatza, because every time I see him and I bring up Mavrello, he just looks at me with this goofy look like, what are you talking about? Do you miss Mavrello?
Yes, every day.
Really?
Every day. I love Mavrello. Really kind of like a key turning point in the history of the franchise, if you think about it. Mavrello goes, and then Luka goes, and then the fans go, and it all ties back to one. Shout out Dro Knows. I only came here to say the Cowboy show should be 2 hours long. I think Jeff Kavanaugh and Clarence Hill might kill each other if they had to talk for 2 hours a day. We got
Joe might get both of them before that.
Yeah, they might peacefully kill each other.
Oh yeah, they might. Yes, not
non-violently.
That was a joke.
That's
murder.
right.
Non-violent murder.
We do have to keep them separated at all times, except for when they're on camera. They're just always jokingly at each other's throats, metaphorically speaking.
Happy Friday to you, Mr. Crazy. We see you, Sarah, in the chat as well. Happy Friday to you as well. A lot to get to in today's episode of the DLLS Mavs podcast. Make sure you download our podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free. Just search DLLS Mavs, give it a 5-star rating, and write a review for it while you're there. Bless you, Tanner. Let's get into it, gentlemen. What should the Mavericks do at starting center this upcoming season? The Mavericks have a decision to make when it comes to Dereck Lively II and Daniel Gafford, and what they will do going into next year to pair alongside Anthony Davis, who will continue to play power forward for this team going into next year. Let's get into it. We talked about them a little bit yesterday in terms of some of the numbers that they had last year. But as this team begins to look forward, what is the best course of action for this team to have a winning product on the floor when it comes to their starting center?
Well, this question is courtesy of so Tim. Is this from the Die Hard Discord?
There's a few different
some Die Hard
people.
questions in here.
Yeah, this one was a Twitter one.
Some Die Soft questions. Or some Live Hard questions.
I don't really like how that sounded.
It's a mailbag Friday, so we're answering some fan Qs.
Yes. What's your thoughts?
Should we shout out who asked the questions? I don't know how we do this.
We're
making up the rules for the mailbag as we go.
Yeah. So Cliff Bruder, actually my RA in college.
Oh wow.
One of my RAs. Great dude.
Wow.
Shout out Cliff.
Did he ever catch you smoking reefer?
He did not.
Okay.
Because that's illegal. Haven't you seen the latest news?
I'm well aware.
So Cliff asked, doesn't it make more sense to sign minimum guards and see what they have in Flagg? Trading PJ picks and maybe even Gafford seems rash when they don't know what Flagg is. Mavs traded for KP before they really knew what fit with Luka best. Small moves and reassess at the deadline. Somebody else asked, would it make more sense to look to trade Lively if Gafford, Lively's younger, but he has, if you're trying to win now, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to find that exact question, but
that's okay.
It's the question is basically
it's water.
The question is basically if
Coffee.
Anthony Davis needs to be playing What's in the Red Solo Cup?
Yeah,
That's right.
it's water. You're gonna
This
spill it on my
show
laptop.
is going to be off the entire rails today.
It's Friday.
That's
It's
straight
Friday.
vodka.
I've been
That's
awake
gin.
like 34 of the last
you
37
had
hours.
several things going on.
okay,
Since the best closing lineup probably has Davis at the 5, would it make more sense to keep Gafford as a starter so he doesn't need to finish games and trade Lively since he has more value? And that's kind of the question. Is like, are you committing to 2 centers because Lively is a starter? Gafford maybe isn't. This comes from Ryan Dennison, rDennison13 on Twitter.
So it's like, I think it would be a different discussion if there wasn't the ticking time bomb of Gafford's expiring contract. So he is going to be a free agent, not in a couple weeks, but next summer. He will be an unrestricted free agent, meaning any team can offer him however much money they want, all the way up to the max. If Gafford was, say, in the first year of a 4-year deal, and you had plenty of time to figure it out with him and plenty of time to figure it out with Lively and plenty of time for both of them to figure it out with Davis and cooperflagg and all that stuff, then I say patience is a virtue. Let's see what happens. Let's check ball and play. But because you only have so long, to figure it out, I do think that there is a little more urgency to act. Personally, I think that, his injury issues notwithstanding, Dereck Lively is a guy that I'm trying to keep around for as long as possible. On court, he's an excellent defender. He is an excellent rebounder, excellent run on the floor, excellent touch around the rim, improving year to year, put together an incredible playoff run when they went to the finals, was clearly the best big on his team and the best big in really every series outside of maybe the first few games against Zubats in that playoff run. And, I think for that reason alone, like I want him around, but also off the floor, he's an intense guy. I think he's a vocal leader. I think he's going to be, he already is kind of a quarterback of a defense, but like a talker in a locker room, kind of a centerpiece, a valuable piece of your culture. And I think that has a lot of value, and he's only 21 or whatever, which matches, Cooper's age pretty well. So for that reason, I would prioritize keeping him. However, like that chatter asked or mentioned, Lively probably has a whole lot more value, and so you could get back a whole lot more for him. But I think if you're trying to win, Lively is the kind of player you want to have, so I wouldn't trade him for another guy that can help me win. I would trade a guy that might not be as valuable to winning, maybe with some other stuff to get one in that can help me.
This is where the 2 timeline thing comes up, and it was those dreaded words that have so much vitriol around them. If you talk to anybody in San Francisco, those dreaded words were apparently invoked by Christian Clark recently at The Athletic, and there is a very real scenario that Dallas next season is best when Anthony Davis plays center. And yes, Dereck Lively makes way more sense for the long-term timeline of cooperflagg. He is a very special type of NBA prospect. He is a very special defender. He has already shown enough to seem that he is in a different boat than, a lot of NBA centers. There's not a lot of players who have his versatility, switchability, and then just court presence on both ends. And that is something to prioritize around. However, the gist of this question is the challenges. Now, I would go into next season and I would see what Anthony Davis and Dereck Lively look like playing next to each other, and then add cooperflagg to that, see what all 3 of those look like playing together. However, if you get to a point, if you make the decision this summer that you're going to move on from Gafford, and then all of a sudden Dereck Lively is kind of, you're realizing, okay, Anthony Davis has to be the 5. This is just because Anthony Davis is the most talented, the best player on the team. And all of a sudden, like all the on-off numbers, all the data is pointing to this team is best with Anthony Davis at center. That's possible. And now you're stuck in a situation where you're not quite ideally best served to win now because Daniel Gafford would have been the better backup. You're also not quite ready to completely build around cooperflagg because you've still got the veterans. It is the challenges. I think the pluses of Lively's future and his immediate success and immediate effect on winning right now, when he's on the court, when he's healthy, I think that's enough that you prioritize Lively, no questions asked. But I do see how it starts getting at, just some of the challenges about having old players and young players who might fit best with Cooper 5 years from now. Doesn't mean they fit best right now. It's not a guarantee they fit best right now on the team that Dallas currently has constructed.
And that decision, especially with Daniel Gafford, will have to come pretty quickly because he will become extension eligible with the Dallas Mavericks as of July the 9th. So when it comes to whether or not you're going to be sticking with Daniel Gafford going forward, you're going to be making that decision here pretty soon. For me, if I'm looking at the center position, I know that folks in the chat are echoing the concerns injury-wise when it comes to Anthony Davis. So maybe you need to protect yourself by keeping both Gafford and Lively in case Anthony Davis goes down with an injury that could have him out for a prolonged period of time. That's a necessary consideration. But for me, I'm looking at a core, especially if you're talking about, we discussed the 2 timeline situation, a young front court that includes Dereck Lively II, to me, has to be part of the future going forward here. At only 21, 22 years old, there's still plenty of upside for him as far as his long-term future is concerned. And when I start thinking about a front court, let's say you keep P.J. Washington, of a Cooper Flagg, P.J. Washington, and Dereck Lively II type of front court, you've got a pretty lengthy, athletic front court that defensively will give teams a lot of problems. And I think Lively, with his switchability on the defensive end, I think gives you more options to run different things more efficiently. I would say on the defensive end, his ability to guard out in space as well, I think gives them a lot more versatility than what Daniel Gafford does, even with his ability to finish at the rim and do some of the things in terms of creating his own shot. Lively, I think, gives you better long-term options for what you want to do both offensively and defensively. And I think that process needs to start now with him being your starter going forward.
The worst thing about 2 timelines, the worst situation you can be in, is that you have young players who you feel can develop to be winning now, like win now players, if you put them on the court. But they're not going to immediately affect winning because they need to develop into those players.
Jonathan Kuminga effect.
Exactly.
Kuminga, Denver is a good example of this, where the front office and Mike Malone were at odds about Strother should play more, that Peyton Watson should play more.
Zeke Naji makes a lot and just kind of hangs out.
And this is not that situation because Dereck Lively is ready now. He does help you win right now. Of course, he can develop more, and I think the biggest development for him is the continuation of him, hopefully growing into his body, growing out of some injury, concern. So I guess in some ways, that is something that if he's going to grow out of that in 3 years, then yeah, he's going to be more of a win now player just because he's more reliable and you can expect him to be on the court more often. However, broadly speaking, when Dereck Lively is on the court, he is one of, he's a top 100 player in the NBA. I've gone higher than that. I think I've said as high as top 50. That might have been a little bit much too soon, but genuinely when he's at his best, when we've seen him at his very best, he is a win now player. So at least you don't have that issue, and that's why sticking with Lively isn't really a tough decision in the end for me. But I get it. I get how, not committing to just one single path is always going to bring a few more complications into the mix.
I just see it as really simple. Lively makes less money, he's younger, and he's better. It's a pretty easy choice. Now, it's not that simple, obviously, because then every team would just get all the good players. You don't have to pay him for another couple years, whereas you got to pay Gafford next year. So if it really is a this or that, I'm taking the younger, better player that is cheaper now, and that I would be able to have more control over, because even if Lively's like, nah, F y'all, I'm out of here, he's a restricted free agent, so you can get something back. Whereas Gafford, UFA, you lose him for nothing unless you pay him. And if you pay him, you're going to have to pay him probably starter caliber money because he's a starting caliber player. And you can't pay everyone starting caliber money because then your calculator explodes and it's really bad. There's battery acid everywhere. Lively's defensive versatility is really important playing alongside Cooper Flagg, because I'm trying to envision in my head, and even with AD as well, despite him being a little older and not as fleet of foot, envisioning in my head a scenario where the Mavs could have a 3, 4, and 5, all of them 6'9" or 6'10" and up. All of them can switch and guard almost any position. Like, that alone is going to win you a lot of games, no matter how many points you do or don't score at the other end. And I recognize, Gunga Den, I don't know how to pronounce your name, I'm sorry, but, very, very loyal viewer, loyal chatter, always very active in the chat. Has made the case numerous times. And there are a lot of fans that feel that way too, that Gafford is, that Lively might have been more dependent on Luka and Kyrie than Gafford is, right? So, like, why would you prioritize a player that might not be as good without stars than someone that could be self-sufficient? But my response to that would be pretty plainly, like, if you're going to win, it's because you have stars. And so I want guys that can play with stars. I want guys that can be complementary pieces. I want guys that can play with the great players and that can play against the great players. And Lively was clearly the better option when the Mavs went to the finals. And if they ever get back to the finals, it will be in large part, in my opinion, because of how Lively plays.
Yeah. And if you knew Gafford was willing, able, considering a 3 for 30, a 3 for 36 extension, I think we would have a slightly different tone in this conversation.
Agreed.
But I think the expectation of everybody here at this little desk that
That's
is
right.
3 desks in one, the expectation is our best understanding is, Gafford's probably looking for like 3 for 45.
At least a raise.
At least a significant raise for
Yeah.
sure.
And that just changes the conversation.
Deservedly
about which
so.
one
Honestly, he had a great year.
Yeah.
He's a really stinking good player.
Yes, it just also changes the conversation about that you have about him on this roster.
Let's make your dreams come true. Coming up here on the next segment here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. If you were the GM of the Mavericks this summer, what would you do with this team going into next year? And a little bit later on, we'll talk some NBA conference finals here. All coming up on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Stars fans.
Oh, man.
That series sure was fun, wasn't it?
Game
one of the Cup final is starting soon.
Fun.
Stars are going all the way, baby. No, shout out to our friends at Bud Light for supporting our Stars playoff coverage. And I believe they're taking it all the way through the Cup final, even though the Stars aren't in it. Their season came to an end last night, but it is always a great time to enjoy hockey, always a great opportunity to enjoy some Bud Light. Whether you're watching the Stars, whether you're watching the Cup final, whether you're watching anything else, the best way to entertain some guests is easy. Just pick up some pizza, grab some Bud Light to stock your fridge, and have a good time. Bud Light is always brewed with 4 simple ingredients for a clean, crisp taste. It's easy to drink, it's easy to enjoy, but you must enjoy responsibly. Be 21 and up to drink these delicious beverages. Anheuser-Busch. It does. Okay. Actually, I was feeling low. Luds was feeling down in the dumps, so we cracked open a Bud Light after the show, and we felt great. So, Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Let me talk to you about Saturday Neon, started by 2 college friends. Saturday Neon makes officially licensed collegiate logo LED neon signs, perfect for your home, office, dorm room, fan cave, or bar. Check out their new Essentials collection featuring almost 50 of the biggest schools across the country and only counting for $75. Check out their Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State signs. Shout out to Oklahoma, hit a game-winning home run in the College World Series, the Women's College World Series, to get themselves a win over Tennessee. Unlike traditional neon, these LED signs won't break or shatter, but still give you that classic uniform glow that you know and love. LEDs lasting up to 100,000 hours, so you'll be enjoying your sign for years to come. The perfect gift for the favorite sports fan in your life. So make sure you head over to SaturdayNeon.com and use code DLLS for 10% off your favorite sign today with Saturday Neon. If you were the Mavericks GM this summer, what would you do to make this team better going into next season? We'll get into that here in just a moment, but want to jump out and give this fun fact for our guys here on the panel here. Of course,
it better be fun.
It is fun, actually.
It better be a fact.
It is a fact.
Oh.
1 year.
We better be a panel.
All right, Tim. 1 year ago today, of course, the Dallas Mavericks defeated the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 games to reach the NBA Finals for the first time since 2011. Did you know, gentlemen, with Oklahoma City reaching the NBA Finals this year, Oklahoma City is the 6th different Western Conference champion in the last 6 seasons. This is the first time the West has had 6 different conference champions in a 6-season span since the 1972-73, 77-78 seasons. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of the parity.
73 to 78.
Yes.
I'm really bad at the 70s.
Can't name any of them, can you?
It would have been, let's see, the Lakers, I'm sure.
Lakers in 73.
Yeah. And then 74.
Oh, you got the list pulled up?
No, I just...
Oh, you just know?
He just
okay.
knows it.
Okay.
Were the Rockets in there?
No.
Was it... well, it would have been Utah. No?
No.
Phoenix
Utah.
is one of them.
Phoenix is one in 76.
Denver?
Yes.
Denver, no.
Seattle?
Seattle might have been 78. I can't remember if it was 78 or... Because they played the Bullets. So it was definitely 78 because Seattle won in 79, Bullets won in 78 or vice versa. So it was Seattle 78. 74.
I'm out of
the
guesses.
Milwaukee Buckaroos.
The Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah,
one
but
of them.
they're not
The
in the West.
Blazers, and so they were then. Blazers
Well,
in
they're not
77,
now.
Suns in
So
76.
this is a trick.
Wow.
And then, of course, the Warriors in 75.
There you go.
Rick Barry's friends.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Yeah, Bill Walton, those Trailblazers teams were pretty unbelievable at that point. Let's jump into it, gentlemen. If you are the Mavericks GM this summer, what would you do to improve this team, and how would you fix it going forward? Bobby Carella, we'll start with you.
Well, we already started with me, Mavrello.
Oh, Mavrello, yeah.
Got it. That's
So,
right.
Got to sign Mavrello to the vet men or the max. I'll open up a max slot for Mavrello. So if I was GM, I would honestly, like, I think it would be much easier to just mostly stay the course. I know on this show we've explored the viability of just completely, dropping a grenade in the locker room, blowing it up and starting it over and all that stuff.
It'd be easier to do nothing.
It would be much easier to do nothing, though. So I'm going to take the path of least resistance. I'm prioritizing adding guards, and I mean plural guards. I don't mean guards at the minimum. I mean I'm trading for guards. That means exploring potentially trades involving P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford, Najee Marshall, Clay, or all of them. I need high-level playmakers that can also defend at the point of attack and shoot the three, play on the ball without Kyrie, off the ball alongside Kyrie. Now, that list of players is very short. They come at a premium price. By no means is that going to be easy, but I would also be, now after the Mavs having won the lottery, I'm much more open to entertaining the notion, at least, of trading the 2031 pick, because with Cooper Flagg, you're probably, hopefully, going to be relevant enough in 2031 to where it's not going to be a lottery pick, whereas before, might not have been the case. That 2031 pick was probably one of the most valuable future picks in the league. Less so now. So I'm open to trading future picks to try and get some vets in here, especially in quality backcourt players.
Okay.
I think. Let's see. So if I'm GM, I think I start by at least exploring the Anthony Davis trade market. I don't think that it's a situation where you have to trade him. And I actually think, weirdly enough, that as long as Dallas sets everything up on the 3-year contractual timeline of Anthony Davis, of Kyrie Irving, who's probably going to resign for a 3-year deal, for anybody else, I guess Klay Thompson, he's 2 years. But if you're setting people up on the 3-year timeline, I think that there is, I don't think that's the worst situation to be in. Essentially, you're loading up for a title run as long as you have these good players. And then you're hard resetting with Cooper still in his rookie deal, going into his 4th season, still on his rookie contract, so he's not paid yet. You're going to have salary space. You're going to be under the salary cap if you play if you build it in that way. I don't think that's the worst situation to be in. I am not convinced Anthony Davis is the best fit to have next to Cooper Flagg. I also think it's probably a little bit trickier to look to trade him. Again, if I'm coming in as the GM, though, I have no loyalties to anybody. I didn't bring anybody here. So it's something I would at least look around, consider, make sure that there isn't more of
You should always do that.
Yeah.
Evaluate value and things like that. But
And if you got a deal for, less on-court talent but more picks back, yeah, I would think about that. But again, I don't think this is the worst situation for Dallas to prioritize. They've got a talented team. They've got the workings, the backbone of what could be a contender. At that point, I would basically decide, is PJ Washington a long-term fit next to Cooper Flagg? That's a tricky thing to figure out. But if you decide no, if you decide yes, you work a way to keep him on the roster, to re-sign him, to make sure that even if he's not starting, that he feels like a starter, that he understands that time is coming very soon down the road, and then you make decisions around that. But if you decide that, PJ, while a really good player, overlaps too much with Cooper, and I think that's the decision I might make, even though I like PJ a lot. But I think that's the decision I would make, and then I would go ahead and look to trade PJ to try to get, a two-way guy like, I've always liked Colin Sexton. I like that name a lot. But again, once you're getting into, okay, you're going to trade this guy on the team for somebody, I mean, we're spiraling into hypotheticals upon hypotheticals.
I think that the reason, an important distinction between why trading someone like PJ or Gafford now, as opposed to, well, let's just wait and see with someone like Anthony Davis, is with Kyrie out for an extended period of time, you run the risk of this being a lost year. and you cannot have it be a lost year. Your roster's too expensive. Everything, like you have to try and be relevant this year. If you don't trade guys on expiring contracts now in the offseason, then you're probably not going to be able to move them again until the deadline when they become a rental, and that makes them less valuable because the team is only going to get them for 15, 20 games and a playoff run if they're lucky. With a player like Anthony Davis and Kyrie, if he signs an extension and everything, that they're under contract for years, and their value is at its lowest right now because they were hurt and the team was bad and all that stuff. So there is some prudence in waiting, even if you're like, get them out of here, blow it up, wait a little bit. But for guys on an expiring deal, KG, they just don't have the luxury of waiting.
I mean, AD got an entire top 3 superstar.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of value.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you have to consider what the finances are going to look like here in very short order. Now, this is just what the Mavericks can offer Kyrie Irving, because number one, that is my number one priority if I'm walking in day one as Mavericks GM, is to get Kyrie Irving under contract. Now, he can be offered, I want you to listen to me, boys and girls, he can be offered a 5-year, $314 million contract. Not necessarily trying to sign him up to that, but maybe a 3-year at $120 million, $40 million for the next 3 years, get him back in the fold, and then move from there. Tim kind of stole a little bit of my idea when it comes to looking at the trade market for Anthony Davis. And the reason why I would explore that as well is if I think that Cooper Flagg is going to be the kind of player that is going to be the generational type of talent to take me into the next 10 years, I want to be able to begin to look at that now and what could I do to start building around him with a young core that sees him, Dereck Lively. If you were in the camp of keeping PJ Washington, you can get him done on a 4-year, $89 million extension. You can have him in the fold for the next 4 or 5 years as well. And then going out and finding some guard help to be able to find yourself competing in the next couple of years, which means you may take a step back this year in terms of potentially competing, which not necessarily the Mavericks want to do, given the fact that Nico Harrison is looking at a 3-year timeline for the next few years with Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving. But that would be my number one priority. Get Kyrie Irving done, and then let's figure out what the trade market looks like. And if you want to stay in the competitive mode this year, figure out what you can do to build around this team currently. But if not, you can begin that timeline right now with Cooper Flagg so that by the time he hits 22 years old, you not only have maximum cap flexibility in terms of the contracts that will be falling off by the time you get there, but you can also remain competitive and maybe find yourself getting a nice pick going into next season as well. But there are several options that this team would go down. But to me, starting with getting Kyrie Irving done is the number one thing that you've got to get done if you're the Mavericks this offseason.
And the boring buzzkill answer that supersedes all of this other stuff is they have to trim at least $1 million off their payroll because they're above the second apron right now, and you can't do that because then there's a lot of restrictions. You can't combine salary, you can't take back more money in trades. Your picks run the risk of being frozen. There's a lot of you can't sign anybody to anything other than the minimum. And then there are other maneuvers that they could make that would hard cap them at the second apron or even hard cap them at the first apron. And they experienced that last season. It was also bad. So you do have to keep flexibility in mind, which could mean you have to trade a player for air. You have to trade a player for nothing and just get rid of salary. So like a Jaden Hardy or an Omax, or just not leaving an open roster spot or something. Like there's going to be some sort of puzzling thing, but that's why you do have to prioritize that. Even if you might take a little hit in the short term, because the long-term ramifications could be, very, very painful to deal with.
Yeah, being hard capped at the second apron is not a problem at all. It's just ideal to have a little bit more flexibility. But being
until you're down to 7 players and you need to sign 3 10
right?
Yeah, which and there's a lot of scenarios where they can be hard capped at the second. Hard capped in the sense of like they're a second apron team, but they still have like $5 million in flexibility. That's the ideal situation.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the Phoenix Suns.
No,
you do not want to be the Phoenix Suns.
Hard capped in the sense of are
or
they
the
right up
Celtics
to the
The Celtics have to blow up their team because they can't do anything. Like they're literally stuck with their incredible roster, and they're like, get out of here.
Yeah. Anyway, my whole thing is that I think all of these are. I think all of us are being very reasonable, but like all these are reasonable paths. If we were in charge of Dallas, anybody in charge of Dallas could take. For me, I do like the idea of the hard reset after 3 years. Now that you have this roster together, I just think the worst thing about 2 timelines is when the old guard actually phases out. When does that actually end? When do you actually switch the team over? And because it's not young players you're hoping develop and hoping hit. It's young players like Cooper Flagg and Dereck Lively, one who is absolutely proven, even in the NBA Finals, the other who is, nobody has doubts about Cooper Flagg. I think 3 years from now, when the old guys, when their contracts expire, when you have that year, I think that gives you the ability to do the hard reset then. And I think that makes sense given the roster that exists. But again, I hear everybody and certainly don't disagree with anybody who wants more of a reset quicker. We've had this conversation off mic, sure. On mic. We've been having it for weeks, and I think both sides are perfectly valid.
Yeah, the interesting thing is for Anthony Davis at the end of that contract as well, because his 3-year, $175 million extension kicks in at the beginning of this upcoming year. His cap hits over the next 3 years: $54.1 million, $58.5 million, and in the final year, $62.8 million in the final year of that contract.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And if you think,
he'll be how old?
He'll be 35 at the end of it. Yeah, at that particular point. By the way, that $11 million increase in salary from the option year would put Dallas over the second apron at that particular point when you start thinking about some of those numbers.
They're over it now.
Yeah, they're over it now. But just keeping in contract with or keeping in mind Anthony Davis's contract. So a lot of options if you were the Mavericks GM going this summer, what you could potentially do.
Real quick, since the chat pointed it out, they need to shave about $1 million
ish.
Yeah, how much dead money are they still paying JaVale McGee?
$2.2 million.
Still the right decision to stretch wave. Not the right decision to sign, but they made the right decision at the time.
They did.
It's just really unfortunate.
Yeah, because they stretched and waived him.
Yep.
$2.2 million. Still
expertly salvaging their mistakes has been a long story tradition in Dallas Mavericks history.
A tradition
under many different regimes.
Oh yeah, not just this one.
Yes.
And if I were GM, I'd make the next one, baby.
Let's take our next break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, we dive deeper into the Mavericks mailbag when it comes to what the offseason priorities could look like for the Mavericks. All that more coming next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But first, let me talk to you about Sleeper, the best fantasy league platform out there. Allows you to put your ball analysis to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less in their projected stats each week. If you took Connor McDavid to have at least a goal last night, you were a winner because he had a spectacular breakaway goal to unfortunately put the Stars away last night. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries, so you can stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time, so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. So if you think you have what it takes, Bobby Krilla, new users can download the Sleeper app and use code DLLS Mavs to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. It doesn't have to be your first contest either. Remember, terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms and uses for details. Currently operational in over 25 states, so make sure you check out Sleeper today.
We don't talk enough about floors. Or when we do, we talk about the annoyance, the inconvenience, the big box stores, and you're going through their flooring department, but their flooring department is one of the 1,000 sections, and every person you find being like, okay, is this a good floor? Is this a better floor? And they're like, I don't know. I was working in light bulbs yesterday. I'm doing sinks tomorrow. Not with Empire Today. Empire Today has your home court advantage, and they can give your home a home floor advantage. They have flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day of their life. We don't even focus on basketball every single day. We take 2 days off. They don't take days off. Every single day for Empire Today. Schedule a free in-home estimate because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. Yes, you heard that right. A $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions do apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLLS for full details.
Back here on the DLLS.
Lost my breath at the very end of that one.
You good?
And
you can take a drink of water?
No, I'm good.
You good?
I'm good. But sometimes you really gotta stagger your breaths right.
That's right.
And I took one. I took one a syllable too soon, and then I had one syllable too many at the end of it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you recovered. You're all good.
Happens to the best of us.
It does. It does.
And also me.
Shout out to all of you joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Remember, you can download our podcast by searching DLLS Mavs wherever you get your podcast free. Let's continue to dive into our Mavericks Mailbag Friday here on our show. Our guy, Tim Cato. Soliciting questions online and in our member-only Discord, which you can become a part of if you become a diehard member here at DLLS Sports. What else did we have in terms of some of the questions from our mailbag this week?
Here's a fun quick one from Nathan B. from Twitter. How do you pick who sits where when recording the podcast?
Tanner.
I don't think Tanner.
That wasn't my decision.
I think we just, like we always sit in this order. I think we just decided the first show.
Well, no, it is a mandate that host sits camera right so that is stage left.
Okay.
So whoever's hosting, which is almost always KG, I guess if Kevin's out of town, or
okay.
I think you
I've
sat in the
hosted one
panelist chair
time.
one time. Right?
One time.
I've hosted once. Usually
Bless
you
you.
host just circumstantially.
Yeah.
A lot of the times you had to host, I was at the game, so I was coming back. And
yeah, so it's basically we kind of on this show we arrange it as host there, perma panelist next to host, and then me because I'm usually on more shows than Mark, and then Mark will be on the end, and so it's kind of like as you get closer to camera right, you know that you're getting to the full timers, and then Mark and I are just a couple part timers.
You're not a part-timer.
We're just part
You're
timers.
literally
selling
here
yourself short.
every day.
but yeah, anytime you
Don't remind me.
any other times it's been switched up, it's been because we've had guests in studio and we're kind of swapping around, and or Bobby's like on a meeting and come in and late, and so I think you were in the Stein chair once, so it does happen.
I felt powerful in the Stein chair.
Man, it's a crazy.
And then
feeling.
Jason Kidd sat in that chair, and then
Yeah.
you replaced Jason Kidd when he left.
Yeah,
Go
Is it
over
now the Jason Kidd chair?
it is
the Jason Kidd chair?
the honorary Jason Kidd chair.
It's a science. It's an absolute science when it comes to what we got going on here.
So your boy Stevie P, Steven Patino on Twitter asks, if the Mavs could trade back into the first round for another cost-effective rookie, who would you want them to go after?
Ooh.
I don't know if you guys have thoughts. It might be,
Is that
Dallas-
also YouTube chatter, ya boy?
probably is.
Shout out, ya boy.
Shout out your boy. Certainly could be. It's not the exact same. So I don't know how much either of us have looked this deep into the draft. I did want to ask, it might be tricky to commit to another guaranteed first round roster slot,
Yeah, it would be
salary slot.
just sad, but it's true.
I think it is likely. I think it's quite possible Dallas could trade into the second round. Or I think it's possible. I'm not reporting. I don't have any sense of it one way or the other. But I think it would make sense within their the way they've operated as a front office. I think it's totally realistic to imagine them trading into the second round.
I like the kid from Florida.
Yeah, I don't think he's making it. I don't think Michael Clayton's making it to the second round.
Walter
Or Walter, sorry.
No, you go. Walter
I don't
Clayton
think George
Jr.
Clooney's going to be in the NBA draft either.
Who's am I thinking Michael Creighton?
That's Patrick Creighton. Michael Clayton was a movie.
Yeah, the Jurassic Park guy, right?
Oh my God!
What?
dude.
Which
Just
one is he?
Log off.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I don't think Dallas is going to trade back into the first round. I that's my guess based off just the salary situation that they're going into this summer. Unless they have everything already lined out going into the draft, because not that they would, because nobody ever tampers in the NBA. But unless they have all of their
Correct.
moves planned out, like they're sure that they're going to have the roster clearing moves to make appropriate space for another first round salary slot, even if it's a very small first round salary slot, because it would be something very late in the first round. I think they're going to prioritize all, making sure the cap stuff is as easy as possible to get figured out.
What else we got?
Let's see. What do you? So a couple names were thrown at me. John on Twitter asked about Malik Monk, and Eric asked about DeAnthony Melton. And I found DeAnthony Melton to be a really interesting shout. A player I kind of forgot about. Granted, a player who is constantly hurt, but I love his game. I would love his fit. Again, not a true capital C creator, advantage creator, but just a really sharp two-way plus shooting point guard. Or just guard.
I like DeAnthony Melton. I mean, he's coming off a very serious injury, obviously. So, I mean, the plus side means you probably get him for cheaper than you normally would. The downside is he's coming off a very serious injury. How many other players on this team are,
Right.
So it gets tough. But, I mean, he is the kind of player, he can definitely defend point of attack and he can shoot. I do think if because they only have so many roster spots to commit. I think that if they're going to sign a guard, they also need to be able to make some plays, and I'm just not sure that's his forte. But I do like D'Anthony Melton's game. As far as Malik Monk, I just think he's too expensive.
Yeah.
He's a good player, though. Fun to watch.
All right, one of our diehards, Playoff Adam, one of our fantastic diehards.
Shout out.
Does it feel weird to you that the Mavs are looking to separate from the Stars with the new arena? Obviously, they have been independently run franchises, but it's hard to separate them in my mind, and probably so in the minds of many. Thought this was a really interesting question. The Stars were always, even growing up in Dallas as a DFW sports fan, the Stars was a team hockey was a sport I knew least. The Stars were the team they were not as large of a presence in my mind. So I'm more curious from the perspective of somebody who has been, you guys have been a little bit more locked into it. What do you guys feel about this?
I like the idea of a basketball-only arena.
Me too.
I'm from Kansas City, and we built was called the T-Mobile Arena at the time. It's a different name now. I can't remember the name. But a basketball-only arena allows for much more entertainment. I'm also a big wrestling fan, so the idea of certain
it always comes back to wrestling.
Well, no, I mean the viewing options, the seating and the seating arrangements is much better for a basketball-only arena. If you love going to concerts, comedy shows, different things that allow you to go to a specific type of arena, basketball one is much more suited for that versus a dual arena with both basketball and hockey. The viewing is a little bit different when you have a combined arena for that.
Yeah, I hope that if the Mavs do their own thing, that the Stars also land on their feet, because what I don't want is double stadium drama at the same time, because like teams hold cities hostage, and that would just be, as a Dallas taxpayer, I'd rather not do that. I'd rather not fund two stadiums with my hard-earned money that I could instead be spending on Tex-Mex. All right, but also I want the Stars to play in an awesome stadium too, and
you think they would just outfit the AAC for them specifically and let it just
maybe
do that for the Stars?
Maybe. I mean, I hope, because also I think Victory Park is cool, and it would suck if Victory Park just became a ghost town. Kind of like what happened where Reunion Arena used to be. There's nothing going on over there anymore. So
yeah, I mean, I obviously just said a bunch of reasons why I'm not qualified to speak on the Stars, and it shouldn't. But I hope if it makes sense on their end that they just kind of claim the AAC as theirs. And yeah, then it becomes more of a venue. I think that Sports Arena should be downtown. I don't know how realistic it is that if the Mavericks actually do, when they do go ahead with this, that they're going to have a downtown arena. Even if they, I know the idea at some point, when Marco was the owner, was to put it basically where the facility is now.
Yeah,
that was like the very initial ideas that he had.
Be
so
super
that would have been
convenient
across
for
the
us.
highway. Yeah, it would have been across the highway. Would have been very close, and at that point, it's two arenas too many? I don't think so. Not for a big snazzy city like Dallas. We can have 7 arenas if we want.
Wow. Emmanuel Save says Irving, Texas, I think is the perfect spot for the new Mavs arena. I don't know if I necessarily want the Mavericks to move further away, with no disrespect to the folks in Irving. I think a downtown or close to downtown location allows for the most access for folks to be able to get to, which is why I was so excited when I thought the Wings were coming to Dallas next year. That's going to be delayed a little bit because, with all due respect to the folks in Arlington, that is a hell of a drive for someone like me who lives.
Put it somewhere. Make KG spend less time on 30.
Yeah, right. Please, that would be. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's definitely something I would love to spend less time on. Is on 9:30. Any other ones before we go to our break here?
There's this one we might have to carry over to the other side of the break. But Sarah, Sarah asked, another diehard in the chat right now.
Diehard Sarah.
She asked for our top 5 and bottom 5 moments of last season.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be tough to limit the bottom 1 to 5.
Right. We'll discuss that coming up next on the other side of the break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
But first, hey, that Die Hard sale was supposed to end last night. It didn't. It actually is going.
What?
It's going through today. So you still have another whatever it is. 12. How many hours are left in the day? 11. 11 point something hours.
Time
to
is
take
a
advantage of our
construct
start
for
of
you.
summer. It's intro offer, $36. That's $3 a month to become a diehard. Scan the QR code beneath me. Go to all the description in the link below, or go to alldls.com, and you can become a diehard. What you're doing there is supporting what we're doing here at DLLS Sports, but you're also getting benefits of your own, including a free shirt of your choice right when you sign up. We got more than 40 to choose from. You also get a discount on any other new shirts you might want or new gear. We got hoodies. We got some stuff. I was in a meeting yesterday about some new merch that is coming out soon. It actually it sounds like it's going to be very cool. I saw specs for other markets, and we're next in line, and so I'm jealous of them, and I'm excited for us.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but one more thing this gives you access to is the DLLS Water Resort.
There is no.
Oh, wow.
That's not a thing.
Wow.
Where did that come
private pool?
There is no private pool, yeah.
Oh,
Unless
man.
there is, and no one told me about it, which would be par for the course. No one tells me about anything around here. I'm always the last one to find out.
This is a big faux pas. We weren't supposed to let them know.
No.
Dude,
Yeah.
just get away from me.
I know there is a place where there are pools, though, that you're going to tell us about here in a second.
Oh, yeah, Las Vegas. You should go to our site. I don't know what the link is. It's a really long link. But if you go to our website, Cowboys are taking the show on the road. They're going to Vegas from November 15th through the 18th. We're taking a DLLS road trip. It's going to be 4 days, 3 nights in Las Vegas. The trip includes airfare. You can also get out there yourself if you want. You can book that separately. But you're going to get out to Vegas. We're staying at Mandalay Bay, us and everyone that goes. You're going to get to hang out in Vegas. You're going to have a pep rally, hangout, sesh, dinner, and drinks and stuff the night before the game. The day of the game, Monday Night Football, Cowboys at Raiders. The fee includes a ticket to the game. We're going to take over their stadium out there, and hopefully, well, it's going to be a lot of Cowboys fans regardless, actually, but we're going to take over that stadium. We're going to have a tailgate before the game. Obviously, tickets to the game, hang out in Vegas with 3 days with everyone from the show and maybe some people from the DLS staff as well. And then you're going to come back home on Tuesday. So there's going to be a lot of interest in that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely check that out. And that went way over 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
That sounds like a lot of fun, though.
I had a poorly timed bit.
That's fine.
I forgot you had to read that too.
Yeah. You're talking about pools.
Pools. But it got him there.
Not billiards.
I was talking about water resorts.
Of course you were.
I went big.
Let's finish up here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Before we get to some more of our Mavericks mailbag, shout out to the New York Knicks, who staved off elimination last night as they defeat the Indiana Pacers to extend their series to a Game 6, which will be tomorrow in Indiana. We will see if Rick Carlisle and his Indiana Pacers can clinch their spot in the NBA Finals, as they will take on the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are awaiting them in the NBA Finals, which begin on June 5th. So
we're not going to Vegas to scout the new territory for the Mavs. We're actually scouting the new location in July at Summer League.
Oh, is that official?
When the Cowboys go in, no. I mean, basically.
So you got an
when the Cowboys go
here?
in November, we will just be visiting our conquered territory.
My only thoughts on the game last night is that the photo of TJ McConnell celebrating in front of Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
Just two goated white boys with the sauce. One of the funniest images, to me, the defining image of this postseason.
So we'll see if the Pacers can.
Chalamet looks so mad.
I didn't realize he was such a big basketball fan.
Whatever I said yesterday.
This comes from Vegas Insider real quick. They have the most negative fan bases in the NBA by percentage of negative comments that appear on social media.
Who's that?
So top 5. Are you guys ready?
All right.
You want to guess the number 5? Who do you believe is number 5 in terms of most negative fan bases?
I don't know.
Lakers.
Where are the Mavs?
Knicks, Bulls.
The Philadelphia 76ers coming at number 5.
They had a lot to complain about.
Yeah, the Lakers coming at 14. Lakers are at 14. Number 4. By the way, 30.6%.
This is
percentage
of
negative comments.
Okay.
Philadelphia comes in at number 5. Who is number 4?
Orlando.
The Knicks are at number 6. Tanner.
The Raptors.
Number 4
Bucks.
is the Memphis Grizzlies.
Oh wow.
30.94% of negative comments on social media. So you got the Sixers at 5, Grizzlies at 4. Number 3.
I don't want to guess.
You don't want to guess? Tanner, you want to take a guess?
I ran out of guesses.
No? The Minnesota Timberwolves at 31.52%
Odd.
of negative comments. So it's the Sixers at number 5, Grizzlies at number 4, Timberwolves at number 3. Who do you want to take a guess at number 2?
Lakers.
I already said the Lakers are at 14.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Listen,
Lock in,
There's a lot
Tanner.
going on in the chat.
Lock
Hard to
in.
keep up with.
The Utah Jazz, the Portland Trailblazers.
Utah actually came in at number 27. Portland came in at number 28. Don't think about it too hard. They're in the Eastern Conference.
Celtics.
Portland
The
and
Celtics.
Utah?
The Celtics.
Oh, the team.
Yeah,
isn't. Okay.
yeah. The Celtics coming in at number 2 at 31.73%, and the most negative fan base in the NBA with 32.41% of negative comments is.
Man, I really can't think of anybody.
Same. Heat.
Bobby.
the Washington Wizards.
The Washington Wizards were actually 29th.
Oh wow.
It would be
Suns.
your Dallas Mavericks come in at
Yeah.
number 1 as the most negative fan base, according to Vegas Insider, with 32.41% of negative comments. So your top 5 are the Dallas Mavericks, Boston Celtics, Minnesota Timberwolves, Memphis Grizzlies, and the Philadelphia 76ers.
We've seen like 30% of that 31 in our chat over the past few months. But a lot better these days.
Unfair to do it this year, though. Like last
Yeah.
year, I'm sure we would not be.
Would have been true last year too. That was trust me.
Bobby's like,
Yes.
I dealt with a lot of that
The
during.
better your team is, the less fun you have watching the team. Like the Celtics, number 2. Are you serious?
Fair.
The Celtics?
Fair. We wouldn't. We might be top 5. We would not be number 1 last year.
Yeah, they'd still be
just-
top 5.
Yeah, the best thing in sports is ascension and like really the rise of a good team.
That's why I always say enjoy the good times while they last, because you never know when they're gonna end.
The top.
Actually, I had a question that was kind of
I was going to list the last, the others in the top 10. Knicks at number 6. Milwaukee, Bobby, comes in at number 7.
valid.
The Cavaliers come in at number 8. The Rockets at number 9. And the
Cavs.
Orlando, yeah.
They just had the best season they've. Whatever.
Yeah, I have
whatever.
some slight questions about the methodology here.
Rockets at 9. And the Orlando Magic come in at number 10. Those are your top
That's fair.
10 most negative fan bases, according to percentage of negative comments there.
Sad Luca.
we never got to Sarah's, by the way.
we can circle
just
back to it,
kind of
but-
just 10 minutes ago
But
dropped
Sad
it. It was like,
Luca,
all right, we're
Sad
moving
Luca
on.
said, "What is the likelihood that with what we saw with the amount of injuries last season, that this team may accidentally go in the tank for AJ direction next season due to injuries, due to Kyrie?"
The thought of a flag to Bonsa front court excites me. So no complaints there. If that's what happens,
I don't think.
if I can get assurances from Adam.
I think this
Silver.
team
Got it.
may not be as good without Kyrie as everybody would like them to be, as the front office may think they are. I've said this a lot, but I don't think they're at any point going to be so bad that it's going to be like, okay, throw tank this season. I don't, and also like they're not going to choose to do that. So I think they're going to be in play-in. Certainly they're going to be in play-in contention the whole year. So I don't think it's super likely. Top 5 and bottom 5 moments last season.
Oh, man. Top 5, bottom 5 moments of last season.
The Dereck Lively full court spinning layup dunk thing.
Number
in
one.
preseason.
That was
Number one.
preseason, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
I think my favorite moment of the
deep cut.
regular season was the Memphis comeback in the in-season tournament. That was great. That was great.
Grimes dunk. Does that make top 5?
I was going to bring up Grimes, but like one of his first like score, I remember that Cleveland game really well, even though Dallas lost big and they lost the game against Boston too, that he had the dunk in. That's the one. Yeah, they lost that one. But I remember like when he just went on a third quarter heater, that was kind of fun in a otherwise like not fun stretch of
Right.
Mavs basketball. The dunk was the NBA had something called a dunk score,
Mm-hmm.
and they ranked it first.
It was number 1 for a while, yeah.
Yeah,
It was a great dunk.
I was gonna write about it, and then
Max's last
he
game as
got
a Mav.
traded. No, yeah, it was.
Yeah, last home game before the Luka trade too. That was pretty brutal.
I guess I'll go with PJ Washington going nuclear on the Oklahoma City Thunder back on November 17th. My man went for 27 and 17 and solidified himself as PJ Oklahoma. Like he just continued his terrorizing of the Oklahoma City Thunder. That was pretty fun because he He lit it up, man. Shout out to PJ.
Luka's
And plus, it sticks on my agenda. I'm the PJ guy on the agenda.
You are.
So there you go.
You are. You
Sticks on
cornered
my
that
agenda.
territory very quickly.
That's right.
Very early on.
I thought, like you say, it's better to buy early than buy late.
No,
So-
for sure. Yeah, you bought low.
Yeah, I bought low early, so there it was.
Luka's game against the Warriors in Golden State was a heater.
Yeah,
But I mean, I don't know if you want to say it's good or bad or whatever, but I thought the Luka homecoming was very surreal and very, very, very memorable.
is that
And
top 5 or a bottom 5? Luka coming back to Dallas.
Why not both?
Yeah, for me, it's just
a moment.
It's a top 5 moment for me for sure. You know, I don't really care if it's good or bad, but it's definitely a top 5 moment.
Do the first 26 minutes of Anthony Davis's Mavericks career count as a top 5 moment? Because look, I'm not gonna lie to you. Obviously, the devastation of the trade and what happened, but my gosh, those first 25, 26 minutes where Anthony Davis showed us every single thing that he was capable of on a basketball floor. Bobby knows I was here screaming my head off.
Fired up, man.
I mean, look, man, he was knocking down threes. He was blocking shots. He was passing. Like, Anthony Davis showed the entire variety of his game. And I thought, okay, all right, this is fun. And by the way, the Mavericks had 18 blocks that day against the Houston Rockets. And then, what happened afterwards. But
You know something really funny I found out.
it
I
better be
noticed.
funny.
It is pretty funny.
Okay.
So Second Spectrum has a shot quality metric, and that game, Anthony Davis' debut against the Rockets, was the worst shot quality the Dallas offense generated in all 82 games last regular season.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
And their offense was bad that game.
It was, yeah. I mean,
it's just the defense was that much
They
better.
hit a lot of middies, hit a lot of floaters. It was awesome.
yeah.
And they super outperformed. They hit a bunch of tough shots to even score at a below average pace, which was enough to beat the Rockets, who were scoring at a negative pace, a glacier. That Houston team had no way to score against Dallas. But
Albert Sengun wanted no parts of Anthony Davis that day in the paint. He wanted nothing to do with him. By the way, that day, Anthony Davis in 31 minutes, 26 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 blocks. He was a monster that day.
And that was the start of a long, terrific run for him and the team. Some other good moments. The win at Cosm, whenever they went to Boston and won, that was really fun. hanging
Shout out
at
to
Cosm.
Sarah. Speaking of Sarah.
Yeah, the friendship bracelet night,
Yeah.
and got to hang out with a handful of other diehards as well that night. That was good fun.
Yes, you were.
The Mavs at Warriors win was incredible. That was basketball on drugs. It was amazing. Don't do drugs though. I think obviously the lowest moment speaks for itself. It's midnight on February 1st or whatever. It was pretty bad time for all of us, but we went through it together.
We did.
Another low moment, them getting spanked by the Thunder in the in-season tournament right after beating the Grizzlies in the in-season tournament. So you want to talk about highs and lows. Christmas, pretty brutal. Them losing the game in Portland when Kyrie scored 48 or whatever, that was pretty bad. That was one of my saddest nights. I was very sad for Kyrie that night.
And then, I mean, honestly, them getting spanked in the play-in game by Memphis.
Was that a low moment?
I mean, it was.
Without that, they don't get Cooper.
Technically, well, I mean, clearly they wouldn't have mattered.
You
anyway.
didn't know the rest was still unwritten at the point. I mean, Natasha Bedingfield made points.
Yeah. Did you just have a Natasha Bedingfield reference? Is that what you just did?
You just have a very linear sense of time. Every single event we've brought up, if different, easily could have resulted in the Mavericks not getting Cooper.
That's right.
But you're just fixating.
So the Luka trade wasn't a low. It was actually
you're just fixating on the moment.
Well, as you get closer to the event horizon, there are fewer ramifications.
Can I give it a top moment?
Yes, please.
You may.
It was Spencer Dinwiddie versus the Heat, just tanking that game because it led to KG's
top moment for me because I wasn't here that night.
That was perfect and great. So yeah, that's a top moment for me because it was hilarious.
I'm not even going to lie. I have no memory of that game. I have memory of Spencer Dinwiddie doing fourth quarter things, but I have no memory of that
Lone
game.
Star with a good one. I mean, it's not good. It's sad. The night Kyrie got injured, I'm not going to lie. That was probably the saddest I've ever been watching basketball. That sucked. That was horrible.
It just felt like everything had just kind of just bubbled over at that point.
Yeah,
it's just like, are you serious? Like this can't be happening now that Kyrie got hurt. But then he steps up to the line with a torn ACL, we come to find out, and knocks down 2 free throws before exiting the game.
But still, man, that was just.
I mean, that's a moment in and of itself.
That capped off a month of pain and agony, and just it was the worst.
Yeah,
that was honestly, that might have been like the lowest on court moment in Mavs history. That was terrible.
Yeah, you could just feel even through the television, just the hush of the crowd was just like, yikes.
Let's end on a happy note. Someone say something happy after that.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
Okay.
We did it again.
And then it's Saturday.
And then it's Saturday. It's the weekend.
Sunday. What?
Brandon Williams.
Brandon Williams is spectacular this year. We got to go. We appreciate all of you joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Thank you to Tanner for making us look good and sound good as always. Thank you, sir. That is our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Curl. That is our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. Mark Stein's back next week here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Join us at Monday at noon right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all have a good rest of your weekend. Talk to you later. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.